All right, let's talk about Saturn's transit in 2026. So, Saturn moved into the sign of Pisces last year on March 29th and has been in the sign of Pisces this whole year. He started to retrograde in Pisces on July 12th, and then he just went back direct on November 27th. So, Saturn is the slowest moving planet. He takes about 30 months to move through a sign and about 30 years to go around the sun. So when Saturn moves into a house, he spends a lot of time there. And Saturn moved into the sign of Pisces. And this is where Pisces is a sign where we're really dreamy. We're kind of like halfway between the material world and halfway between the spiritual world. And things are getting blended together. And this is the house of moksha. This is where we become liberated. But if we are in the lower forms of Pisces, we might be feeling delusional, confused, and unable to know what's real and what's not real. And so Saturn, being the planet of reality, is going to make us face our delusions. And so whatever house Pisces is in your chart is the house that Saturn is currently cleaning up. So Saturn is the planet that comes into a house and he's like, let's get cleaning. And right as Saturn went into Pisces, we had Rahu, the node, move out of Pisces. So they move in opposite directions. And so Rahu has a tendency to be very impulsive. And so this is an area of our life where we might be making some mistakes and like making kind of a mess. And so with Saturn coming into that area and being like, no, we need to tidy this up, and it being like Pisces energy of being a little bit delusional and confused, Saturn might not feel that great when he's coming through and cleaning up this area of your life. And so it's good to know which house Pisces is in. So if you're an Aquarius ascendant, then that means that Pisces is your second house. And that means that Saturn is moving through the house of finances and values. And so he may be coming in and making you take a hard look at your finances and to get a reality check on what's actually happening there. And so this is where you want to know what area, what house it's in is almost going to be a little bit more insightful than just what sign Saturn is in, because then you can really understand what area of your life Saturn is affecting and where you can put your energy and focus in your discipline. So Saturn is seen as the planet that brings restriction and slows things down. And that's true. But Saturn also is the planet of our long-term goals. And he wants us to be able to achieve our purpose or our dharma. And so in order to do that, we have to have the discipline to do the things that we don't always want to do. And it's like that one author, Joseph Campbell, Follow Your Bliss. He said later he wished he would have wrote Follow Your Blisters, because a lot of the times the things that we're passionate about and the things that make us grow and become stronger aren't always the things that are blissful. Sometimes it's a lot of the hard work that we have to do to really overcome the obstacles. And so Saturn is actually that discipline to overcome the obstacles. And Saturn represents our root chakra. And our root chakra is what grounds us to the earth. So Saturn really is the energy that grounds us to the earth. And then Saturn's also connected to the crown chakra, because they are like essentially two ends of the same coin. And the crown chakra can only get as big as much as your root chakra is grounded. And so in order for us to have intuition or to know what the right thing to do is and to have that clarity that we need in Pisces, we need to ground into the earth. And so that's where the discipline and the structure come in, where we can energetically ground into the earth by working with the root chakra. And then we can also ground just our daily lives by getting more and more into a routine. And the idea with Saturn is the more that we're able to focus on our priorities, then the more that our boundaries will just naturally build themselves. And that's really what Saturn is. It's our boundaries. He has like a whole ring around him, his boundary. And while Saturn will keep going through Pisces all of 2026, he will retrograde in July. I think I wrote it on the back here. No. Where did I write it down? Shoot. Well, he will retrograde again in July all the way to December. And so he won't leave Pisces this whole year. When Saturn's retrograding, he wants us to kind of revisit some of the things that we missed on our first round. And he has more power during this time. And so when Saturn is retrograding, we're just kind of paying attention to these lessons that we may have forgotten along the way. And that's really where we're doing more of the cleanup. Because if we didn't do it right the first time, like when you're a kid, or my kids will do this actually, like I'll be like, clean the bathroom. And then I'm always like, no, you need to go back in and fix it. That's kind of what Saturn does when he's retrograding. He's like, you got to go back in there. You forgot the mirror or whatever. Whole mirror. So that's really Saturn's energy. And I like the analogy there. It was like either Buddha or some like monk was like, I don't want to, he's going into a sati where Saturn's going to move over his moon for 7.5 years. And he was like, I don't want to deal with Saturn moving over my moon. So I'm just going to go meditate. So he went and meditated for 7.5 years. And then when he came out of his meditation, he said, see, Saturn, you can't affect me. And Saturn said, well, what did you do for the last 7.5 years? And he said, I meditated. And Saturn said, exactly. And so I love this because there's no way to escape Saturn, which isn't funny. I don't know why that's funny, because it's not. But what we can do is we can align with the energy of discipline, and we can do the things that we don't always want to do, but we know that we need to do them. And when we have clarity and we're connected to right action, a lot of the times our intuition, our subconscious mind always knows what to do next, and it's our thinking mind that gets in the way. And the lower form of Saturn is that like thinking critical mind. And the higher form of Saturn is connecting to our intuition and connecting to that clear vision and always doing right action, even if it's not what you want to do, but it's because you know that's what you need to do. And you know exactly what you need to do next. That's Saturn at its highest function. And when we're in Pisces and we're being kind of led maybe a little bit by delusion, we really need to get crystal clear on what our priorities are. And then you can apply whatever house Pisces is in your chart, you can apply that to the area of your life. So if it's the second house, you need to get very clear about your money and your finances and align them with your values. Simple. Maybe not. But that's the Saturn energy. That's aligning with Saturn. That's working with Saturn in a disciplined way. And Saturn is known as the planet of karma because he will make sure that all of your actions have an equal reaction or whatever. So Saturn is, and the only reason Saturn does this is because Saturn wants us to follow our dharma. And really Saturn is the dharma planet. He's not really the karma planet. He's the dharma planet. And we think of the sun as the dharma planet because the sun is like our purpose and what we're here to do. But Saturn's the planet that makes sure that we do it and that we get that clear knowing of what to do. And when you look at someone's career chart, you definitely want to see where Saturn's at. That is even more important than what's happening with the sun. So Saturn really is our purpose, and we want to know where he's at, and we don't want to be fearful of him. We want to be able to bring structure to that area of our life. And so for the rest of the year, Saturn will be in Pisces, and he will do a little bit of retrograding. And really, ultimately, the best way to align with Saturn energy and to spend your year going through Pisces is to spend a lot of time grounding, because your crown chakra can only open as much as you're able to ground into the earth. And so the more and more that you're able to open up that root chakra energy and ground your energy down, then the more you're going to be able to open up your intuition or your third eye and get downloaded the information you need exactly when you need it. And that is really the highest function of Saturn. So that's Saturn for 2026 in a nutshell. If you want to know how Saturn's affecting you personally, you could get a birth chart reading, and we could look at what house Saturn's in right now and how that's affecting you. And stay tuned, because next I'm going to do Mars.